So, number 5 in the Big Blue Book. How great thou art. Now, this song actually wasn't written in English. A lot of the songs that we've gone over were written around the 1800s. This is written much earlier than that at a date that I could not find. But I do know that it was translated by a Stephen K. Hine. Now, the person who wrote this was a Swedish man. His name was Carl Gustav Boberg. Carl was an organ player at an evangelical church, a member of Swedish Parliament back then, a popular writer, singer, and a published author as well. He wrote this as a poem. Music was added to it later. It was then translated to German. Then it went to Russia, and eventually Stuart K. Hine came over to Russia as a missionary, found it, and translated it over into English. Now, there are 2 different translations of this song. This is one of the more popular ones. I have the second one here. I'm going to read it really quickly in just a moment.
What language was it originally written in?
Swedish. It started in Sweden, was in Swedish, then the Germans got it, then the Russians got it, and then an American came and got it. So, this song was actually popularized in the 1940s during what is called the Billy Graham Crusades. Billy Graham was a famous Southern Baptist preacher and made a big push for that type of denomination, if you will, of Christianity. Now, the psalm that this is based off of is going to be Psalm 86. So if you want to go ahead and look over there really quickly, Psalm 86. It says verse 10 specifically, but I'm going to read verses 8 through 13. Psalm 86, verses 8 through 13. I'm reading from the ESV. There is none like you among the gods, O Lord, nor are there any works like yours. All the nations you have made shall come and worship before you, O Lord, and shall glorify your name. For you are great and do wondrous things. You alone are God. Teach me your way, O Lord, that I may walk in your truth. Unite my heart to fear your name. I give thanks to you, O Lord my God, with my whole heart, and I will glorify your name forever. For great is your steadfast love toward me. You have delivered my soul from the depths of Sheol. Okay. So, we just sang the more popular version. Now, we're not going to be studying the second version. That would take way too long, and some people have to go to sleep tonight. I don't want to reenact Paul and have someone fall asleep out of a window. But so I'm just going to read through this really quickly. The first translation, the original, and then it was turned into this later, was Almighty God, when I behold the wonder. And this fits the song cadence as well. Almighty God, when I behold the wonder of nature's beauty wrought by words of thine, and how thou leadest all from realms up yonder, sustaining earthly life with love benign. When I behold the heavens in their vastness, where golden ships in azure issue forth, where sun and moon keep watch upon the fastness of changing seasons and of time on earth. When crushed by guilt of sin before thee kneeling, I plead for mercy and for grace and peace. I feel thy balm and all my bruises healing. My soul is filled, my heart is set at ease. And when at last the mist of time have vanished, and I in truth my faith confirmed shall see, upon the shores where earthly ills are banished, I'll enter, Lord, to dwell in peace with thee. And then the chorus is this repeated. With rapture filled my soul thy name would laud. Almighty God, Almighty God. So that is the less popular translation. So let's see here. So now we're going to go ahead and open this up for questions. This is now officially class, and I'll close it off with questions whenever we get to the point where an invitation needs to be presented. So I'll let you know when that gets there. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at verse 1. Starting with the first bar. O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder. So I'd like to take a second, just really quickly. We're going to talk about the word awesome, what it means. Whenever you're writing a song, you have to take into consideration the words that you use. Because if you can't describe exactly what's going on in a song, even poetically, then you aren't going to be a very good songwriter. So I believe that this word is correctly used. We're going to go over the definition. The definition of it is extremely impressed or daunting, inspiring great admiration, apprehension, or fear. Now, there are many aspects to God's power. It is truly awesome. It is something that we are impressed by. It's something that is daunting. And it is something that can cause fear if you are not on the right side of it. So, do you think that this is the right word? In my opinion, I think so.
Yeah.
You think?
I think it fits well, right?
I believe so. I believe it does as well. I believe that we often, yes, sir.
I was just gonna say, that word is loosely used today.
That's exactly the point that I was about to go into. Especially with my generation, you know, can make fun of younger generations all you want, I'm self-aware of it. We like to use that word awesome a lot. We like to look at things and say, oh, that's awesome. You know, it sounds like I'm being satire. I'm using satire, but we use it a lot. And we don't understand the word. We've turned a lot of words into something that they're not. And I believe in the way that we use awesome now, we've completely changed its definition. Because I'm not going to look at an Olympic swimmer going a lap around the pool the fastest in the world and think that that's fear-inspiring. Because I'm not going to run from him in the pool.
Yeah.
It just tells me not to mess with him in the water. But to describe something that God does, awesome is one of the only words I can think of because there's no way that we can describe the way he thinks, the way he acts, and the plans that he has put in place. There's so many safeguards and so many just it's very simple, straight to the point, and just amazingly put together.
Or when you fear something, you respect it.
Yes, when you fear something, you do respect it. Let's see here. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to the second bar, which is, and I know it kind of cuts off. I'm going to start with consider, which is the last word in the top bar I know. Consider all the worlds thy hands have made. One of my favorite things to do when talking about religion is talk about how science actually can mix with that. You talk about space, you talk about all the things that we've put in that is nothingness to see what is out there. And people are consumed with the fact that there's either other things out there, there's another planet we can go to. Those of you who are familiar with the man named Elon Musk, he is very adamant about going to Mars one day because we're going to run out of stuff here on Earth, is his theory. And looking at all these things, and with the tools that we've created through the grace of God, through the abilities given to us by God, we were able to see just how amazing the planets are, just how amazing the stars are. The stars, we know what they're made of, and how they sustain themselves. It's chaos in motion that is beautiful because of that. I know I'm talking over everything. If you have a question, please raise your hand or comment anything. I don't want to roll over everyone.
Mitchell,
Yes, sir.
did you find anything on why this author, Hine, chose to put an asterisk by worlds and rolling thunder, pointing out the original words were different? I've always been curious as to why he noted that. And I wondered if you found anything.
That's actually from the editors of Hymns for Worship. That
Oh,
did
okay,
that.
that did that? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't Hine himself.
Okay.
It was,
Actually, I forgot to mention something at the beginning of this class. Hines added 2 extra verses to this song.
Oh, okay.
The 3rd and 4th verse are not from the original.
Original.
Um, So Hines did add to this song. So technically, you can say it was written by Hines, but only half of it, which is why I mentioned Carl Bogberg more than I mentioned Stewart. I can't remember the name. Be careful with those. I put on this, I said, put simply, God made everything, just to wrap this point up. And when we think about the vastness of what is here, of how small everything can get, of how large everything can get in terms of the space around us and what we're made of, it puts words like awesome in the proper tense and sense. So now we'll move on to, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder. Thy power throughout the universe displayed. What do you think of whenever you read that verse?
I believe it ties back to consider all the worlds thy hands have made, which ties back to the awesome wonder. As you said, his great power is displayed, his almightiness is displayed, his omniscience is displayed, his omnipresence is displayed in the stars, the thunder, the power, the control that is. I mean, you think about thunder and what it is. The result from the mighty flash of lightning. It's a sonic boom of the overheated gases. It's amazing, awe-inspiring, what God has created as nature, as the world. And then you look at us.
We're very small. Yes, sir.
I don't think a person with scriptural integrity would ever hear thunder that they didn't think of God. I can't imagine.
There's more power.
I mean, the lightning, yeah, and I realize what Gerald was saying, one calls the other, but that thunder, I mean, that shakes.
Shakes the ground.
It'll shake you too.
When lightning hits the ground and you're within distance, there is a force coming across. I was fueling a 18-wheeler and lightning hit a tree out there and the hair I had shorts on and I felt the power come underneath that truck and the hair on my legs just done turned.
It's a force that's not kinetic, that
No,
gives
it's-
it power
Yeah.
for some reason. Priscilla and Steve.
And usually after thunder and lightning, you usually have a beautiful morning or a beautiful day the rest of the
The
day.
rainbow and the cloud.
And it's a wonder how calm it is afterwards.
Yes, sir.
So would you say that thunder is terrible?
I would not say that. I'd say it's frightening and awe-inspiring.
I set you up. I set you up.
He's good.
Because the word awesome, biblically, where it's used in the Bible, is terrible. Every place the word awesome is used in the scriptures, well, nearly every place that awesome is used in the scriptures, translated awesome, the actual original text of it is terrible. It's interesting.
Yeah, from a human perspective, that's probably so. It is
Well,
there.
even primitive man
Yeah,
that attributed thunder to God, to a God, some type of God, something greater than man.
Power.
Even primitive man did that.
Yes, ma'am.
When our son Steve was about 6 years old, he said, "That's God screaming his head off."
I like the bowling alley.
You think about it. How is God described at Mount Horeb and at Mount Sinai? His voice was as of thunder.
That's power.
Yeah.
It's the greatest power we know.
Speaking of mountains of God, when the Israelites had just come out of Egypt and Moses was going to receive the commandments, we went over this in a previous lesson, the last one that I did, about how in order for God not to destroy Moses, he had to hide him away in a rock so he could pass over him. And then Moses, just viewing not the full front of God, just a tiny piece of his back. Had his face literally glowing. And to a point where it frightened the people when he came down. He had to cover his face the entire time that was going on. To see the power that the word God carries. There's a reason he says, I am. Because there's nothing without him. Because he made us. God has created things that we can't imagine. We have had so many, what we think are advances in science, and it hasn't even scratched the surface of how things were made. You know, we used to think that we were created from stardust. My favorite rebuttal to how science and religion, I believe, can mix, because we can learn some of how things we'll never truly understand. We aren't capable of understanding, the process. But whenever we talk about the creation of light, the sudden and instant creation of light. Would you call that a Big Bang? Anyway. Verse 2. We're going to skip the chorus and hit it at the end if we have time. Verse 2. When through the woods and forest glades I wander, and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees. When I look down from lofty mountain grandeur and hear the brook and feel the gentle breeze. This is again hitting on the beauty of God's creation. How every direction we look, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, you can be pitch black and still see the beautiful creation of God. Terrible things that we don't like. For example, spiders. I hate spiders. Absolutely.
Right there with you.
God has a purpose for them. They're meant to be here.
They need love too.
But not every that from me.
Not mine.
But they have a purpose. Everything here has a purpose, Flies get rid of garbage. They eat it. They use it as their homes, and they dissipate it faster than if there weren't flies there. Things that we think are just disgusting and terrible are here for a purpose, and it's made in this complex. We can talk about it. Yes, sir.
It's a cycle.
Yes.
Cycle of life. And everything that you're talking about, God put into this intricate cycle that keeps on revolving year after year after year. And the only way it'll stop is when he decides to stop it and destroy it.
No, sir. It is the simplest, most complicated thing you'll ever see. God created all of these senses that we have, and we can see in every direction that we look. In nature, even in here, nothing in here is technically, everything in here is man-made, quote unquote. Nothing ever is man-made. God gave us the means to make it, and God knew it would exist. We made nuclear material. That's something God made.
So we transform it
We
from
transform it from one thing to
one
another,
form
but
to another.
nothing of it would be possible without Him.
Yeah, you can't create-
These tiles on the ceiling, whatever they're made out of, we were given the ability to make those. Press whatever it is. The carpet was woven, probably with machine. We made those machines.
Some things we make right, and some things we don't make right.
Man is the only thing that messes up the world. Even the forest fires in California have a purpose. Forest fires themselves, their destruction, their chaos, but it's like the calm of the storm after a tornado or hurricane. It brings new life. It allows old things that are dead and dying to dissipate and to have new things come after it.
Reconsumed, yeah.
Well, in the national forest, they, set fires, they got to burn all the
Burn all that stuff
burn
off.
all the dead wood, undergrowth, that.
This next verse, we might touch on a topic that is a little sensitive. So if we want to pass over it, we can. We're going to start in verse 3 now. When I think that God, his son not sparing, sent him to die, I scarce can take it in. I believe that, and it's easy for us to normalize this because we hear it so often. Especially, it's one of the things that I'm most guilty of, is thinking of the sacrifice that God gave us is normal. It was a guy that was born 2,000 years ago. I'm a visual learner. It's hard for me to grasp. It's hard for me to fathom. It's hard for me to fathom. Y'all are smarter than me, but at least in remembering things, but it can't be easy for anyone else. And
Well, being a parent, you understand that.
And what I was going to say is not many of us have had to experience sacrifice, a child dying. I haven't experienced something like that, but I understand that it's hard. It's not easy. And none of us have done that on purpose. We haven't sent a child willingly to die. But God did. For those of us that have lost loved ones that may be younger than us or older than us, whatever, it doesn't matter. We never want that to happen. And for God to know that the first day that Christ was born, a king would try and kill him. And did it anyway. Not only just to suffer that in his life, but to have one of the most painful deaths that we can imagine. The Romans were amazing killers, believe it or not. That's how they conquered everything. Because they knew how to kill you if you didn't listen. We're not going to go into it right now because we don't have time, but the science behind crucifixion is strangely advanced. How painful it is. The Romans knew. And putting it into this perspective has given me the ability to understand it more. To think about it in this way. You know, I'm not that, hopefully I'm far off from that kid. We'll see. But I can't imagine, even the figment of my imagination that I imagine as my child every now and then is something that I willingly give up. That on a cross my burdens gladly bearing. Think about that line for a second.
That's what I just said, that proves God's love for us.
Exactly. It does. Yeah, Christ didn't have to sacrifice himself. He didn't have to do any of that. We sing a song, he could have called 10,000 angels, and he really could have. He didn't have to do that. He knew what was going to happen to him at a certain point. And he still went through. He knew that Judas was going to betray him when he was with his apostles. He told them how it was going to happen. And it still happened. He didn't stop it. He didn't change it. He didn't want it to happen. He prayed to God that this cup may pass from me. He sweat as if he was bleeding. I don't think we understand. We've all been out on a hot day, especially how it is right now, changing a tire or something like that, and we're pouring sweat.
That's the human side of Jesus.
It is. And when you're pouring sweat like that, when you know you can't wear your glasses because you're just pouring sweat on them. I know it's a nasty thought, but Jesus was praying doing that. Worse even. Sweating worse, not praying. That's bad. Not that praying is a bad thing. He bled and died to take away my sin. Like I said previously, the cross was not an easy punishment. It was meant to kill. It was meant to kill slowly. not only did he get crucified, he was also whipped. And he was whipped what you call the cat of nine tails. The sling of 9 tails. Cat o' 9 tails. And it is a leather strand, usually with 9 tails, that has pieces of sharp bone, glass, and metal beads, like slugs, that go across your body. People died during this as well. And then Jesus carried his cross and was hung on that. He suffered terrible pain. But we have to understand he did this so we can have an opportunity with him, to be in heaven with him. It's not an easy thing to think about if we think about it in the right way. But there is a positive to this. There's the fact that we have an opportunity to come forward and be forgiven of our sins. Christ became a bridge between us and God for salvation, to have the ability to repent. Moving on to verse 4, unless there's any other comments about that. All right, verse 4. When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation. When Jesus returns, this is meant to be a happy event, because we are supposed to follow him. It is supposed to be an event that we are to be ready for. We're supposed to be excited for it. There are many times, almost daily, where I am not excited for the coming of Jesus, because I don't know if I'm ready. And I don't want to be one of those people that is not happy when Jesus comes home, or when Jesus comes to get us. And take me home, what joy shall fill my heart. I want to touch on something a little bit. We see a lot especially in younger people, we have a high rate of depression. We have a high rate of faking joy. You put on a smile and you fake it till you make it. That's the motto for a lot of things in life nowadays. And it may even been before I was born, that was the motto. But there's no fake joy in heaven. We're not going to get tired of being happy. We're not going to, our cheeks aren't going to hurt because we're smiling too much. That's a little thing to think about, but there's not going to be a downside. And it's hard to imagine that because there's a downside to everything these days. There's a downside to doing things that you love. I love to run. Okay, well, your knees are going to give out when you're older. I love to do this or this, whatever. And there's always a consequence, but not with this, not with following God, not with following his commandments and doing the things we're supposed to do. Because there will be no pain and suffering if we do those things. Then I shall bow in humble adoration and then proclaim, my God, how great thou art. One of those things that we try and put in perspective is what heaven is. At least I did. I think of, I believe it was John, was shown what heaven looks like. Is that correct? Was it John was shown what heaven looks like? He tries to describe it. Pearly gates, walls made out of all these different types of precious gems and jewels and gold and metals,
Language that we can understand.
Language we can understand, but
the way he described it, that's the only way we can understand the beauty of it.
to think that a place is concrete is the most precious metal that we have on this earth. And it's not even that. It's just a term that we can think of. It's not even how he described it. It's just how he could fathom it at that point. I think the rest of the song speaks for itself. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. So I just want you to think about this song. I want you to put what we visualized tonight into your singing. Whether or not you think you sing good or bad or ugly or whatever, think about it whenever you're singing with your heart. I love how much of the Bible this song covers. It covers creation. It covers death, the birth and the death of Christ. And it covers what comes after. It hits all these points. It's not Bible. By any stretch of the imagination, the Bible is your best tool for anything that you do. And I should have added more verses to this study, I believe. You can never have enough Bible whenever you're talking about something like this. Yes, ma'am.
Well, you said he wrote those last two verses that Stephen added those two. And I don't think that song would be as great as it is without those two verses. Because it brings in more about of what God did for us. I mean, the nature and the beauty, yes, that's wonderful, but the best thing he did for us is Jesus, the death of Jesus and our salvation.
I'm going to go ahead and cut off questions. Thank you. We'll have to go. I'm going to go ahead and present this invitation now. Thinking of how all of this, thinking of, well, I had it, I lost it. Thinking of how this song reads, of the words that were put into it in both versions. We could spend a whole other class talking about the second or the first version of this song. We could. But the way that we are able to put into perspective, wait, I'm sorry. The way that we're able to use this song to help visualize the things that went on. The way we talked about verse 3, for example, how we were able to put it into more perspective. How we were able to understand how that's a lot harder than we thought it was for God to do what he did. That's a lot harder than we thought it was for Jesus to do what he did. I say we as a term, but I don't know what y'all's spiritual status is. I often don't put it in the right perspective. It's something that's difficult for me. One of the things that you'll learn as I present is I preach on things that apply to me, because I messed up too. And it is humbling to know that we have this ability. It's humbling to know that God sent the ultimate sacrifice for us. And the ultimate sacrifice, and the person who was the ultimate sacrifice went through with it. So I want us to think on that. If there is anything at this time that you need help with, if you have trouble like me putting things into the right perspective and you need prayers for help with that, I definitely could. If you could pray for me in my understanding of the Bible. If you have any other thing, if something is troubling your mind, if it's something physical, if it's something spiritual, this seems like a long way away from you to talk to someone about it. It's the longest walk in the world if you're scared of it enough. It's not something that we should be afraid of. Help from other Christians is one of the best supports that we can have besides the Bible. So if there's anything that's going on in your life that you need help with, if you'll please come forward and